Welcome to the Final Frontiers radio show, where we spotlight inspiring missionary endeavors around the globe. Stay tuned to hear how you can personally get involved, helping the Lord's frontline soldiers effectively advance the gospel where it has never been preached before. In this episode, we'll have Jon Nelms telling a story of God's miraculous protection in the country of Vietnam. And we'll have a unique Thanksgiving interview with our fictitious missionary to Africa, Ernest Livingston, who has been featured in recent Final Frontiers YouTube episodes.
I'm Daniel Nelms here with my dad, Jon Nelms. He's going to tell you a story about Vietnam and scorpions.
Well, we started working in Vietnam in 1992 when it was still somewhat dangerous. We'd have to smuggle money into them and so forth. I was actually wanted by the police there, so the preachers had given me a different name. I won't say what it is now, but that way when they could tell the churches that I was coming, they weren't using my name, Jon Nelms. So therefore, when we flew into the airport, it was no problem for the police or the immigration. They just let you come right on through. But the first time I went, every preacher I met had been arrested after I left, even though we tried our best to be secretive. However, the second time, I decided that rather than them come to me, I would go to them. So a group that were in one particular city, we rented a van, and in that country at that time, to rent a vehicle, the driver came with it. The driver was a government employee who would tell where you went, who you spoke to, how long you were there, what you did, and so forth. So we knew we had that obstacle. We were driving north on, I think it was called Highway 1. It had been built by the U.S. military, but it was kind of a rough two-lane road. And a monsoon occurred. Well, a monsoon is a hurricane. It's just the Asian word for hurricane. And so we're driving along the coast, and you couldn't really even see the ocean because the clouds were so thick. And as we were driving along, at one point we were crossing over a bridge where there was an inlet from the sea into a landlocked lake, let's just say, and a bridge going across a little river that connected the two. And as we were going across there, literally the van came up off the ground from the force of the water. And we thought, that's it, we're going to be washed out to sea. Somehow, without the wheels touching the ground, we went all the way across the bridge. And when we got to the other end, the van dropped back down again. Well, we all knew what it was. It was the Lord protecting us. Probably the angels of the Lord picking the thing up and carrying us across. And we got to a town a few miles north of there and stood out on a dock and watch as houses were floating by, bamboo huts and people sitting on top of them, screaming out to you, asking for help. And they were close enough, you could literally see their eyes, not the color of their eyes, but they weren't 30, 40 yards away, but you didn't have a rope long enough to throw to them. And if you did, you wouldn't be able to throw it that far anyway. And these people are just washing out, they're going to wash out into the ocean and drown. And snakes were everywhere because they were fleeing the water. You literally could not take a step without avoiding stepping on a snake. Sometimes I'd step on one and he'd come up and slap me on the side of the leg. It was black snakes, cobras, anything there was, everything, rats everywhere. Everything was fleeing from the water that was rising. We found a restaurant that had a hotel. The hotel was full. There was no room in the inn for us. And so they took us into the restaurant and said, you can sleep here. And everybody was sleeping on the tables in the restaurant. It was a circular thing. Above it, there was a balcony that covered almost, I think, 100% of the circular building. And there were some tables up there. So they took us to the second floor of the balcony where we could look down below. And they brought in some beds for us to sleep on. And they covered each bed with a mosquito net. And later that night, of course, there was no food. We were there for several days, no food, no plumbing. I happened to have dysentery during that time, so 30, 40 times I had to go to a bathroom that didn't work. No electricity, so you'd have a flashlight in your mouth trying to hold on and see what you're doing. It was a horrible time. And I went to bed one night. All the preachers were asleep, and I had with me a brother from Thailand, a pastor from there. And we said goodnight. He lay down. He fell asleep. I lay back on my bed, got under the mosquito net, and there was windows all behind us. And laying there, I could look up and see the moon and the stars in the sky. And as I lay down, I stretched my legs out. And as soon as I did, I felt a jab in my foot. And it felt like somebody had taken a hot poker and crammed it up my foot. And I jumped out of bed and sat there on the edge. It woke my brother from Thailand up. And he asked me, "Are you okay?" I said, "I don't know, something just bit me." And it was hurt. It was climbing up my leg, the pain of it. And he got out. He was looking all around in the darkness, couldn't see anything. So he went back to bed. And I sat there a few minutes asking God to please make the pain go away. And finally decided, well, let me lay down and try to sleep. And I lay down. And once again, when I stretched my feet out, boom, 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 I felt 8 bites. Or actually, as it turned out, they were stings. I'm sorry, 9. 4 on one foot, 5 on the other. And I didn't know what had got me, but I knew something had gotten me. And I wanted to call out to him like, "Kiatisak, help," and I couldn't speak. And I noticed that my body was paralyzed. All I could feel was pain. And I was laying there looking up at the moon, and all of a sudden, the moon disappeared. And I realized after a second that my eyes had closed. And I couldn't open my eyes. So I thought, well, I'll use my hand to open my eyes, to push my eyelid up. I couldn't move my arm. So I began to try to pull my arm up on the side, kind of like sliding it up my stomach, my chest, my neck, my face. And then I got it all the way up to my eyelid, to one eye, and I saw the moon there. And then my hand fell down. It disappeared again. And all I could think was, oh, my goodness, I'm going to die here tonight. And these preachers are going to wake up in the morning and find me dead and blame themselves for it. And that's the last thing I remembered. The next morning I woke up. There were 7 or 8 of them standing around the bed looking at me. And they jumped back in horror. They said, "We thought you were dead." And I felt fine. Never had a problem after that. They began to look around and they saw the bites on my feet. And what had happened was this. The hotel, in order to accommodate us, had pulled some old mattresses out of a closet. And, of course, we're a lot taller than they are. So when I stretched my legs off, my feet went off the end of the mattress. Well, it just so happened at the very end there was a tear in the mattress, and it was a scorpion's nest. So I'd been stung that night 9 times by scorpions. Like Paul, I guess I can say, I don't know if I was in this body or out of the body. They say one scorpion sting will kill a man there. And I had 9 of them at one time. But the only lasting result from that was all the hair on my legs fell off. There's none there. It makes the ladies jealous. Something about the chemical in the scorpion sting makes that happen, is what I was told. I know for about 3 or 4 days after that, I couldn't stay awake. I was just constantly sleeping, exhausted all the time. But God gave me health, and He preserved me, as He always does.
For your next family vacation or church missions project, join us for a 1-week visionary trip to Honduras. You'll visit rural churches and homes of poor and destitute families and serve children in our feeding centers. You'll even have a chance to travel to villages so remote, no vehicle can reach them. It's a genuine third world experience, minus the discomfort. With safe and comfortable accommodations for individual families or church groups, letting you and your young person catch a glimpse of the world of missions outside the U.S. To plan your own custom-made missionary adventure, visit finalfrontiers.world. The following is a parody interview with our fictional character, Ernest Livingston. If you haven't seen our Ernest Livingston miniseries, make sure you check out our YouTube channel. You can find that link at finalfrontiers.world. Hey, it's Daniel Nelms, and I'm on the phone with a missionary from Africa, Ernest Livingston. Ernest, how are you today?
Well, I'm okay. It's raining outside, and I'm in my house. The Lord's blessing things. There's a lot going on here. A lot going on. It's we haven't had rain for a long time, so I'm really grateful. I think anybody here is thankful for the rain right now.
Well, that's good. We've been following Ernest's exploits, and he's doing a job. Ernest is doing an okay job.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate if somebody's praying for me.
Now, Ernest, it's coming up to Thanksgiving over here, and so we wanted our listeners to hear about what people are thankful for. So that's why we gave you a call, and we want to see if you had anything you wanted to be thankful for in your missions work over there.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm thankful that I have a place right now, like a roof over my head, because I came in here today and my bed was gone. So somebody stole my bed, but at least I have a place, where I can stay. And I didn't have a phone, but one of the national preachers here let me borrow his phone. I figured out how we could put some minutes on it. So I'm thankful that I can talk to somebody over there. A lot of times I can't do that.
Yes. Well, that's good. Anything else you can think of?
Oh, my word. spider, big spider, on my...
Are you okay?
Yeah, hold on. I guess thinking about this year, really, there was this one time that I was driving, and, there was a lot of problems. Sometimes the roads are bad, so, you get flat tires. But there was these guys that I was able to pick up, and I was able to give them tracks. There wasn't a lot of time there. They had to take off. I couldn't really witness to them as much. But I remember just even that one time I was able to witness. And there's been these guys that I was trying to get to a village, and I'm really grateful for the times that I got to talk to them. So I really think that they're going to accept the Lord.
What gospel tract are you using, by the way?
It's actually from your ministry, from Final Frontiers.
Oh, the Clean Heart?
The little flip track, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, great.
Yeah, they draw on the back. They can write their sins on the back like that. Yeah, I use those a lot. I like to give those out. It's pretty good. But yeah, that's one of the things I'm thankful for, ministry opportunities, that God gives me. It's hot here. It's so hot usually, and I'm out there just walking and trying to find people. And I've been trying to get to this one village. Finally got to that village. Those guys were always helping me. Always. I'm so grateful that they were. It's hard to get there, but yeah, still they were helping me.
They got you there in the end. Well, that's good.
Yeah. A lot's happened this year. I don't know. What did I tell you guys about last time? Because I've lost a lot, but God's been good. I remember when there was this one of the times I was looking for a village. I was in the jungle, and things went really bad. I lost I'm just telling you, it was so bad that I could have lost my Bible, but I didn't. And I'm really thankful to God that I was able to keep my Bible from getting wet, from getting muddy. It's bad when you're in the jungle.
Well, Ernest, this is John. Over here, we're about to have turkey and dressing and everything else. What are you going to have for Thanksgiving in Africa?
I'm sorry, what?
So what are you going to have for a Thanksgiving meal?
I'm really not sure about that, but it's okay. It's hard to say what I'm going to be able to find in the market. And honestly, I don't even know if I'll be here at Thanksgiving. I think I might be in this other area about 20 miles west of here. I don't really know if I'll celebrate Thanksgiving so much, but you can guarantee I will be thankful.
Have you been enjoying the local delicacies?
Sometimes I do. Like chicken and rice is not that bad, but there's a lot of things that is kind of hard to get your stomach used to. I really have trouble with the milk tea, if I'm honest. That bothers me. And it's hard because you got to drink it a lot when you go to houses. It just depends where I am.
Right.
Really.
I know you're a young man and single, so I just wondered if maybe anybody's caught your eye over there.
It's funny. My brother asked about that too, but not really. You know what? I'm just not going to talk about that.
Okay. We'll keep you in prayer then.
Yeah, please do.
Well, when are you going to come back on furlough?
Well, I've got a little bit more time here. There's a place that I'm really trying to get to, and I know I need several more months, so I'll be sending some things out in prayer letters. I really do try to keep up on that, but I've got this place I need to take. I think I can get to it by boat. I've got to go over to the coast, so I really need to get to that. There's a national preacher that I need to encourage.
Uh-huh.
I really want to encourage him if I can. That's one of the main things I've got to get done. Boats don't do very good for me, so I'm kind of a little concerned about that. In fact, I had my own little boat. Actually, my brother had given me an old one, and I thank God. I thank God that I had even my lunch, everything, my Bible, it was all dry. I had it in plastic bags and everything, but the boat was bad. So I'm praying that goes good.
Definitely.
Hey, Ernest, tell me this. We all know your brother. Everybody knows your brother. He's incredibly successful. He's written probably, 20, 30 books maybe. What is it like having him as your brother?
I honestly, he's so busy. I just don't really get to talk to him that much. But, I love him. I'm thankful for him. I'm thankful God's blessing his ministry. He does route my funds through that church, but I don't get to talk to him that much. But, I mean, I'm thankful.
And how is your other brother? You have another brother, Ned, I believe.
Honestly, both of those brothers kind of are together in the United States, so you can't really talk to him that much either. So, I don't know. I'm not saying that I'm complaining that I'm alone so much, but, I mean, I'm thankful for what God has given me here. I'm thankful for my grandma. I mean, my grandmother in Honduras, she and my grandpa, they were missionaries for years. She's still there. Even after he was gone, she's still there. She's still serving God. I still have her picture here, where I stay. She's an inspiration to me. She actually had an old lamp. I thank God I had that for so many years. I brought that here. When I look at that, because I don't have a lot, but when I look at that, it's an inspiration to think how she just stuck it out for all those years. So I don't get to talk to my brothers that much, but she's an inspiration to me. And sometimes I get letters, and we write back and forth. She doesn't have a phone or anything. I don't really have a phone. So, yeah.
Well, I saw her just I guess about a month and a half ago when I was in Honduras. I was having a cup of coffee, and she came by, and I mentioned you, and she got this big smile on her face, and she pulled out a letter that she had gotten from you, and she just started dancing in the street. She was so happy. She's so proud of you.
Thank you so much for telling me that.
Well, and I'm going back in a few weeks, so I'll tell her hello for you.
Well, yeah, maybe if she's got maybe a letter would get to me quicker if you would just bring it back. And
yeah, I'll be glad to. Maybe I can arrange to let her call you from down there.
It's quite a distance. I mean, you think Central America all the way around to Africa. It's tough.
Yeah. Well, she's proud of you.
Hope I'm making sense. I haven't had a lot of sleep. I'm really trying to get to this village and minister to this village. But, I am thankful. So if it sounds like I'm complaining, I'm not. I really, really thank God for everything that's happened this year. I'm just trusting Him to do more, even despite when things go wrong.
And in that, if you had one word to share with other missionaries, some word to encourage them to keep them from giving up, what do you think that word would be?
Oh, definitely. Well, here we speak a lot of Swahili. That's the language that I've been working on. And the word for don't give up is pronounced usiache. And that is something that keeps me going all the time. Usiache. It's like U-S-I-A-C-H-E. Yeah, usiache in Swahili. That's what we say here, and that's what I say to other people around me is don't give up. So I say that to missionaries. I say that to everybody in the United States that's praying. I hope you're praying for me. That's what I would say. Usiache.
Okay, well, usiache to you too.
Thank you. I will not give up.
Gesundheit.
Well, it's been good talking to you, Ernest, and hopefully we'll meet one day next time you're over here on furlough.
Yes, I hope so. That'd be nice. Thank you.
All right. Adios, senor.
Goodbye.
Your inquiries and comments are important to us. If you have questions or perhaps subject matter that you would like to have addressed on this show, please visit us at finalfrontiers.world.
There are three worlds existing today in missions, known as Worlds A, B, and C. World A are those who have never heard the gospel of Jesus. They comprise 28% of the Earth's population and live primarily in tribal groups, strict Islamic lands, and in what is called the 1040 window. Only 2.5% of all existing missionaries are attempting to reach them. Their combined support is equal to only 1 cent out of every $100 that's given to missions. World B are those who have limited access to the gospel, though they may have never personally heard it. 39% of the Earth's population live in these lands, like Kenya, Malaysia, Uruguay, Bolivia, and Burma. Only 17.5% of all existing missionaries are attempting to reach them. Yet just 99 cents out of every $100 given to missions is used to finance them. World C are those who have both unlimited and unrestricted access to the gospel. They comprise 33% of the Earth's population and live in countries like England, America, Germany, and Australia. Incredibly, though, 80% of all existing missionaries are ministering to this group, consuming $99 out of every $100 given to missions. Knowing this, we must ask ourselves, why do we designate the least in missionary manpower and funding
to reach 2/3 of the world who have never heard the gospel, and give the most to continue to evangelize the 1/3 of the world who have heard it but seem to ignore it? Perhaps the answer is found in yet another question. Is the purpose of missions to continually preach the gospel to those who have already heard it, or to those who have never yet heard it? The local church's efforts and tithe are for reaching home. The church's missions giving should be for reaching not more of the home, but the world.
You've been listening to the Final Frontiers radio show, funded by sponsors like you. Thank you so much for joining us. Through the funding of national and native preachers, we endeavor to effectively advance the gospel where it has never been preached before. If you want more information, visit www.finalfrontiers.world. That's finalfrontiers.world.